recording. It's recording.
Started recording. Cameras rolling and action.
Bass.
Hey, what? News out of pocket. What is happening, beautiful people? Ikamalam Usiphile, and welcome to another episode of Writings on the Wall. On the far right, we've got my co-host
Simphiwe.
and then next to me, I've got
Miles.
and then on my left,
Zow.
Zow.
Lord.
I'm the Ghost Rider.
Zow.
Zow the Ghost Rider.
The Ghost Rider decided that they want to be part of the show, so yeah, now they're on camera. So for today's episode, as you can see, guys, we've got a full stack panel,
Facts.
and so I will be speaking as little as I possibly can, because I think you guys have really got a lot of perspective to share, and the one that you've brought in the previous episode. And so we're going to be diving into different topics, but before we do that, Miles was on the Alpha Show. Do you remember the episode?
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, it was, man. It's a full circle moment.
Come here,
Hanging, dog. Can't give the whole, yeah.
You all come far with this podcast then, yeah?
Yeah, dog.
If only you knew, man.
I just had to hold everybody together.
Facts.
Miles was on the Alpha Show. I can't remember what episode, the number of the episode, but I remember we were speaking about cutting people off.
Oh, yeah. The only thing I remember from that episode was the song choice. I chose a song by Galant. I think I chose a song by Galant that time, yeah.
Why were you guys cutting people off?
Yeah, but this
This is toxic. That's
nah,
what.
bro. We weren't saying people should cut people off.
Yeah.
I think we were just exploring the topic because I mean we used to discuss quite a few things.
Yes,
and
I remember. It was, sorry to cut you off. It was,
Hey, yo. Cutting him off, right? Why are you cutting him off now?
so it was we were talking about it in the context of like people get too comfortable with the idea of just cutting people off without ever actually trying to solve the beef.
Yeah.
That was the gist of what the conversation was about. Yeah.
Man's being cooked. So it is a full circle moment. I appreciate you being here, Machi.
Got you, bro.
On my left, I've got the second Ghost Rider, the Lord Zow, the OG brother.
Shout out.
First time on the podcast, on the camera. We're gonna have another full circle moment, my dog.
Yeah. I trust you.
Welcome, gents. Welcome. How are you guys feeling?
I feel good, man. I feel good. Your equipment's nice.
I don't.
Yo, this guy's not authentic. He is not authentic. He couldn't wait for me. You don't want to get into it like, yo, your equipment is nice. Hey, yo, the equipment is pretty solid. And for everybody wondering, I would like to give a deeply heartfelt thank you to
Abby.
Abby. What is Abby? Do you want to tell me about it a bit?
So Abby stands for African Books Institute. We're just a group of young visionaries looking to change the space of education. There's a bunch of different projects that we're working on. You might have been familiar with two of our previous projects, two podcasts we had, The Core and Impressions. We're currently working on an online book club as well. But we're looking to sponsor people who are just looking to grow, so that's why I felt like it would be good to be able to assist here, because this is a beautiful podcast and it's been doing a lot, man. So
Grow how?
why would you do that?
That's what you'd expect.
I mean, like grow.
So-
It depends on how.
No, true. So it's like, I think ultimately all of us right now are trying to move towards finding the better version of self, and that can look like a lot of things. So for us in our space, one of the biggest sources of our growth has been through the exploration of books. Other people, that could be exploration through conversation, etc., etc. And I know that that's what you've basically been doing when you started Usiphile on the platform, was to be able to explore and introspect self through conversation and make it a relatable journey to people. And the outcome of that was growth. So that's essentially what I mean. It's looking to be better through whatever avenue you try to engage with. And for us, that was books. For you, that's conversation. So yeah, shout out.
No, I appreciate it, man.
So good. Glad I could cook that up.
Yeah.
No, shut up.
I'm like, yeah, this guy's PR trained, Maji. No, I appreciate it, man. Look, as I think people have saw in the last episode, and it's also a nice it was happening on the same day, right? But it's such a nice thing to see the quick shift, because when you started recording the last episode, we were using those lapel mics.
Yeah.
And you'll see in the last episode there was a point in time where I had to cut, or I have to cut the visuals, and that's when you were arriving. And now we actually get to see the improvement in the quality, not only in the sound quality, but also the picture and everything.
Right.
So really do appreciate it, man. And like I said, man, the last episode we've got a lot of work to do, and the pressure's on now.
Yeah.
You know, people are really seeing potential in what we do, and it's up to us just to carry the conversations and see them through. So
Shout out.
thanks to Abby. And then on my left, how you doing, my G?
I'm feeling nice, bro. I'm feeling nice.
And done.
Bro, I'm on my second glass.
Homie's woozy.
I'm on my second glass, bro. So
Who-
like I'm feeling nice, but also I'd like to send my shout out to Usiphile on the platform. I've seen the videos, followed you through. You and Sim have covered some quite interesting topics before, so I'm just glad to join you guys and see what we can unpack. I mean, like as you've always said, we try to be as raw as possible. So let's see how raw we can be.
Authentic. Let's use authentic. I like authentic.
I prefer it too, man.
Okay,
Like,
let's use authentic. Okay, yeah,
Y'all chill, bro. Y'all chill.
You're gonna be authentic. Sim, how you doing your side, my G?
No, I'm good, man. It's been a nice Saturday with the gents recording back and forth, chowing pizza and drinking and whatnot. So yeah, so far so good. I'm just excited for like the conversations. There's actually two topics I want us to talk about.
Easy.
I think like they tie in nicely together, right? That marriage one, but also that online dating one.
Ooh, okay.
yes.
You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
then I think
Yes.
Marriage.
I'm cooking actually.
Marriage.
Yeah, yeah.
I got 3 rings on, but none of them was a wedding ring, man.
Do better.
Do better.
Do better.
I hope one of us is married.
Not yet. But I mean, it's worth exploring in the conversation, I guess. Worth
No,
exploring.
so I mean, I think the topic, right? It's not necessarily about marriage necessarily, but like us, I guess. When you look at Home Affairs, we're single people, right? And Home Affairs doesn't recognize that you have a girlfriend and whatnot. So the question then is like, is marriage in this day and age still relevant? And for people that say it's not, or for people that say it is, why is it and why it's not? Because I mean, I think back in the days it was like our grannies and whatnot would get married for the benefits that the man would have. Obviously, the man is working, the man has a credit card, has a car, has cows, then they would get married, But now you look at it today, it's like, actually, there might be a better arrangement between me and my girlfriend than us involving the government in that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then obviously and then the other one is that online dating versus meeting people face to face. How has your guys' experience been there, but we'll see. I don't want to like spoil my views.
you don't want to get into it much. I think I think then a good place to start would be to, because like the way you're just describing it now on just the perception on marriage and what it means now and the relevance, and also relationships and online dating or whatever it means for you. I would like for us to explore online dating first, because I think that's the step before marriage, and then see how it actually falls or bleeds into the next part. Do you have any thingies, insights into like your guys' perception of marriage? Online dating.
Oh, we're starting with online.
I think an important thing to do. Sorry to cut you.
Bye.
Off. Gotta be careful, dog.
Sorry, man. I think an important thing to do when we're speaking about online dating is define what we're talking about then. Because online dating, from my understanding, can have different like meanings. Are we talking like online dating, like your dating apps, like your Tinders, or like I slid into your DMs and that's how we started talking type of thing? Or are we talking about people who are in situations where it's like, for example, a long distance relationship and majority of their relationship has to be conducted online. So what are we talking about when we say online dating? I think it's an important place to start.
Okay, so
so I think it's more, for me, my understanding is like, where are you meeting people? So that's the online
Courtship.
part. Yeah. So the courtship, is it online, where again the apps, your Instagram sliding in, Twitter, even TikTok.
Yeah, sliding culture.
You know.
LinkedIn.
Hey yo,
Thanks.
hey yo.
I've actually been hearing some LinkedIn
If
stories.
you catch me on LinkedIn, that's not me. I'm just saying. You know?
Niggas got wild
Yeah.
profiles.
Or like, or your physical, right? So we're talking church, malls, you know,
traditional day.
prize,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. So I think that's, and then I mean, obviously, then you can meet someone physically, but then it so happens that it's a long distance relationship. Then it's just conducted online. Then I think it still constitutes as a physical
yeah.
meet up.
Yeah. I think what we can explore, just to narrow it down, because if we think about conducting the relationship online,
Yeah.
it can be a bit tricky. So I think just the culture that we've seen now, where people aren't meeting other individuals,
Facts.
and we are now lacking the social skills to approach individuals.
Yep.
Just say, man, hey, how are you? What's your name?
hard.
Getting numbers if need be, you know, because that's what it's become now. It's like, online, I'm on Instagram, let me slide. Or let me go on Tinder, where everybody is kind of looking for the same thing,
Yeah.
and we're just sliding left and right. So I think if we could speak into that culture of meeting potential partners.
Online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
That okay wasn't I was gonna start cooking. It was like I was like, okay, I understand the context of the conversation.
What was the question?
So it's just exploring the topic. Say, so here's my thoughts around it. It's not to impose, but I think it's just to throw things in the thinking. I'm very much traditional.
Okay.
I'm pro-traditional.
Yeah.
I've never explored your like online dating, like
Yeah.
Tinders and stuff. But I really do still find a lot of value in meeting people physically
Okay.
and getting to know them in a natural environment. I've actually been asked this a couple of times, even, you know, like conversations like, do you go on dates?
Yeah.
And I've said no.
Sure.
You know, I don't, because growing up, let me just give a background. Growing up, dating was in a relationship with someone. I got to university, dating was meeting different people and
Yeah.
dating them to get to know
Going
them.
out.
Exactly. And then it becomes exclusive, and
Then it becomes a relationship.
Relationship.
So there was a weird difference between dating and relationships, bro. I had the same experience when I got to university. I was like,
yeah.
What is this?
So, but I found that's actually been, I don't know if there was a shift when I was getting to university, but now it's like the norm. When I say dating, people think dating, or, you know, like I'm courting different individuals and getting to know them. So for me personally, man, I believe strongly on meeting people,
Yeah.
getting to know them, and even the way that my mind is wired, you know, I believe more in getting to know people in a more natural environment.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I actually find you interesting, because I think like that way there is no, I mean, there are masks. I mean, we spoke about being authentic. There is that, you know, persona that you have to put up, you know, because you can't be that dude that you are at home. But, you know, it's still natural. Like if we at the mall bump into you taking cornflakes, I'm taking cornflakes too. I'm like, oh, you like cornflakes as well? Oh, shucks, where do you stay? Sharp. And we get to know each other like that. That's just me.
Sounds like
why
a
you
movie.
why you side-eyeing him?
That sounds like a movie type of thing. Cornflakes.
But I mean,
oh, we in love.
You know, but I mean, that's what for that to spark the interest, I think it's a nice story to tell. But it's just me, you know. It's a nice story to tell. Like we bumped each other at a shopping, buying cornflakes.
Yeah.
I get you. If I might to jump in, right, for me personally, I would say I've always been shy to like hit up. If I get into shops, malls, I'm never like you. You know, cornflakes, numbers.
For Baba hits.
No,
I understand.
I've never. For me, I think as much as I vouch being in the physical and meeting people, right, but I could see you right now. We bump into each other. Oh, it's fine. Then, if I'm really that, you got me then that hook. Probably I'm going to go find you online, right? Depends. Like I'm saying, I'm gonna go find you online.
Certified stalker over here. Like he said, he doesn't even need to know your name. I'm going to
Doesn't know
find
your
you.
government name. I'll find you.
I'll find you.
No, not like that. I'm just saying I would have made something to make me. I mean, like you don't just hit up someone on the first date, right? On the first time. I mean, like if you are lucky, like you said, conflicts, number, boom, right?
Yeah.
But not to me physically. It has to be a countless time before. If I could see you maybe we're in the same university or workplace. I won't say really workplace because I don't think people in workplace hit on each other. I don't know.
They do. But
Hey,
yeah.
yo.
They do.
Yeah.
Yo.
Okay,
Oh, no, they
yeah.
do.
I believe in not to crap in where you eat, right? So I don't do
I
that.
agree.
I don't
but
do that, right?
Grey's
But yeah,
Anatomy.
but for me, most of the times, if I were to think of most of the relationships I've been in, they were more easier when I've slid through the DMs and everything, right? But also I've got an encounter to ask for numbers, but then I realized it doesn't really work out great for me because I think I'm shy. Personally, I think I'm just a shy dude, right? I don't know. I don't even know how I've got all the girls that I've got.
Hey, yo. That risk game is too.
Yo.
That risk game is too much.
That was what is that?
Humble.
That was like a humble brag.
Yeah,
That was some
humble.
weird
That
humble brag.
risk game
I
is
don't
too
even know
much.
how I do. I don't know how
I'm
I do
here,
what I
though.
do,
I'm
but I
here,
do
though.
it.
Hey, but
I'm
hey,
here,
Hey,
bro.
man.
yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
for,
like that.
but for real, and I've seen
But
also
for real though, like I'm like that.
I'm the guy. I'm him.
for me personally, it's been easier online
Yeah.
than it's been physical, right? But the online thing is I don't really prolong it. It's hi, bro. Next thing physical. I think the only thing I use is just to
As an
to
entry
break the
point.
ice, to break the ice.
Yeah.
Hi, we exchange, then we move to the physical. That's how I use online dating. That's how I've been using it. But I think I've had one or two almost full relationships where I've never met the people and we were in a full-blown
Online.
relationship online. And it was a distance thing. I think I was here in Gauteng and I think that I was in a different province. Anyway, bro, we had a full-blown, even today we've never met, but we even got to a point where we're like, bro, she was an everyday routine. Video calls, chats, everything. I think it was COVID time, but we can't really, we know what happened with COVID. But yeah, I had those relationships, but mostly, to me, online dating is just pick,
The entry point. Yeah.
then I bounce.
My thing is like also I'm thinking, right, because with the physical, right, so Usi and Miles, it's like because I think you guys are talking about random chance or random meeting of someone. So if I go to Checkers, it might happen that I bump to someone cute and then I introduce myself there. But then other guys, would wake up and be like, today is Saturday, I want to just go to the mall to just
Find it.
just
Reason.
just reason.
Oh,
There's mania, yeah.
Yeah, just reason as many kills as I can. So I'm trying to understand, like with you guys, right? Is it like a thing of, okay, we're just at church? Oh no, she's cute and whatnot, and then there's people that go to church with a goal in mind. Like, okay, I'm just going there. I want to join the choir and then find a wife. So already it's like, in as much as you go into church, you go into university or whatnot, but then at the back of your mind, it's still that
There's this intention that I'm gonna find my mates.
Or is it just a random chance thing where you guys meet in a taxi? You're like, oh, cool, are we going to the same place? Oh, all right then. And then you just go there.
And that thing happens a lot with especially groove guys. Because
Yes,
that's exactly on weekends. You know how niggas are, we always going to groove, getting baddies,
Exactly.
bowling, going back home with the house. So there's not the physical that we.
That's physical.
Yeah, it's physical.
Because I mean, look, I want to give you a chance now, but like before you going out to groove doesn't mean that you're gonna be out drinking, right?
Yeah.
And even if you are, you have to approach someone physically, and meeting someone while you're at groove is having a physical interaction. It requires a certain level of skill or like social skill to say, hi, my name is, just introducing yourself, or finding something common with someone. Either it's a song or it's the way they're dressing or whatever. Like finding an entry point that requires a lot more social skills than they do, or real-time social skills than you would online, where you sit, you plot. You can even go to ChatGPT, they give you suggestions and then you slide in through Chatty there. What do you want to say?
I think it's an interesting thing because it depends again, and I'm a very, like, my takes will always be based off of the context of what you're looking for as an outcome. So if you're somebody who is going into the online dating scene with the intention of, for example, like a full-blown relationship, it's not impossible, but it's difficult for me. And I say that because, if you're looking at the context of the way social media and even just dating apps have now been connotated, it's like the end goal is usually getting into bed, you know. So, or it's usually people with the intention of acting out like thirsty intentions, you know. So it makes it very difficult to even explore a conversation online, because as soon as you're sliding into this DM, especially as a guy, you're sliding into the son's DM, it's like, I'm pretty sure you're here for something that you like. I'm pretty sure you're here for that, you know, a lot of the times. And that's why you find that a lot of guys don't get responded to. So some guys might go into the situation with the intention of like a long-term relationship, but just by virtue of the way the dating culture has been tainted online, by what people have been doing with sliding in DMs and what it's been connotated with, it becomes very difficult for some people. On the other hand, it's like, as you said, for many people, it can also still be the gateway. It can be the entry point, because some people know how to finesse that game very well. Like, you might be somebody who, as a result of having the grace of time to be able to think about what you want to say and how you want to approach this person, and maybe being able to give up like a witty remark based off of a story that you saw, you're able to get the entry point that you might not have been able to do as fluidly in person. And so for those people, it tends to work out quite well, irrespective of whether or not you want like a long-term relationship or something short-term. So again, it depends on, number one, the context of what you want, but also the context of like the receiver. Like, what are their perceptions of somebody who's coming to talk to me online? And that's based off of their experience. Then you have like the physical domain, where it's like, I'm meeting you, but then now we have to consider like, where am I meeting you? You know, it's very different me meeting you at church and me meeting you at a club. If I'm meeting you at a club, the almost immediate thought process is, first of all, look at how niggas meet you in the club, bro. They just all of a sudden behind you like this.
You know. And they can't dance.
It's going down.
And they can't dance
going
for
down.
shit, but they be there behind you like this, and immediately the intention has been established that this is where you want to go. Not to mention the fact that in a club, the whole context of that is inebriation, intoxication, and it's a highly, I don't want to say sexualized, but call it what it is. Like, it's a highly sexualized place. So that is oftentimes the connotation of somebody approaching you there. At church, it could be a completely different thing, where like, now I'm approaching you in the spirit of the Lord, or whatever the case may be in that case. So context as to where you're meeting also becomes very important in the physical domain. So it's like, it's hard to give a straight shooter answer to say that either or is better, because it depends on so much. It depends on the content. If we're talking online, it depends on the way that you slide, what it is that you said, who you're speaking to, and what they've previously experienced. And for example, are you responding to a message? Are you responding to a story that they've posted? What type of story are you responding to? Because if it's a picture of me that you're responding to, that's a different thing to you responding to something that I'm like re-quoting by somebody said. Because now it's like, are you responding to me as my physical self because I look good?
100%.
Or are you responding to me because you like the way I think?
You mentioned something. Hearing these things both messes with my balance. I promise. I don't know. I mean, your balance has to do with the ear, but like, it really does mess with my thingy.
No, fair enough.
My orientation. But you mentioned something, and I think now we actually, moving to we getting into the core of the topic. You mentioned the benefits of, you both guys mentioned first you mentioned the context of all these different spaces, and then you mentioned a part of the benefits of like for online dating, which is, I'm shy and it takes me a while to maybe kind of come up with a line or whatever, or a witty remark that I wouldn't have been able to do it in person, but I am a funny person, but then I don't get to showcase it because of social anxiety, which is, it's good. It's a fair point. It's a very fair point. Not everyone is quick on their feet. Like, personally, I'm terrible. Like, my social skills are terrible. In person, I'm probably not the person I'm not the person to use as a reference for how you should behave in person. I'll keep quiet. I've been told multiple times I am, I'm unapproachable. Yeah. And it's not a good thing.
The first time I met you, nigga, bro, I was so scared of you, dog.
What?
Bro, walking through Clarinas, headsets on, cool nigga, chest out, doesn't talk to anyone. Doesn't talk to anyone. Straight face. Then you get to know him, and it's like, how, bruh?
But I get that a lot, and I've come to appreciate that, because then it doesn't open me up to a lot of nonsensical stuff that I had to deal with. Like, for example, the relationships I've managed to build, have become solid relationships. We've gone way back.
Yeah.
Me and bro, like, the first time we met was on the trip to Eastern Cape where we was
the
finals, but we didn't really engage then. First time was on the trip
Oh yeah.
down to Thingy, which is like probably about 12. It was long.
No, we did 18 hours.
Yeah,
on the train.
18-hour trip,
On a bus.
and we got to just have a conversation, bro. And so you guys have mentioned the benefits, which is there's that aspect of it. I'm shy, but now online I get to be this macho person.
Yeah.
I have a question for that. Firstly, is it sustainable? Because you can be witty, quick, or not so witty online and funny and stuff, and then you put it out there, and then you guys eventually take it to the physical. How does it play out? How has it played out for you? And from your experience, from the people you've engaged with, how does it usually play out? I'm not the person, but how does it usually play out? And then the second part is the context. I think it's important for us to make this disclaimer to say, I'm not saying Instagram isn't the way to go, or club, or so go to club, not the club, go to church, because people have gone to clubs, have met their partners. People have been on Tinder. Tinder has
met their partners.
Yeah, people, Tinder has been known to be this app where you go for hookups, But I've had conversations with people who have met their wives and husbands on Tinder.
Yeah.
Same thing with the church. You meet people at church. The assumption is that you're meeting your wife. I know people who've met people at church, and then they're like, I don't know what this person was doing, because there are people with intentions to just go there to pick up women,
exactly,
vice versa, for women to pick up dudes, So that's I want us to. So I'm not talking about those outliers. I think we speak to the context to say
the general context of what's expected here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then to the benefits. So yeah.
I think I could go first and say, I think it all goes to what Miles said, context, right?
Yeah.
You're asking about how has it worked for me?
Is it transferable?
He mentioned when you're sliding into whoever's DMs, how are you sliding? Are you sliding from my story, or are you just going dry from my DMs?
Okay.
Did I put something there?
Did you just go in raw?
Yeah.
Went in raw. Authentic.
Right? I think me personally, it's always been about context, right? If it's a girl I'm looking for, like, I'm not planning anything long term or whatever, but
So I don't want to cut you now. I don't want to cut you because can I ask this rather?
Yeah.
Okay.
A girl, now it's vice versa, a girl sliding in your DMs. What's the first thing that usually comes to your mind?
Me,
girls don't slide in my DMs. So
I laugh sometimes. I just like, shucks, for real. Because thing is, my phone is away. I would have shown you this other girl who once slid on my DMs, and she was like, "Yo, how do you like your eggs? Because I prefer mine baked or something." She said something
scrambled.
No, like right. No, she said she fertilized, not.
Hey yo! wait. Hey yo!
What kind of people be in your DMs?
Niggas are we talking about?
No, but that's game.
I won't lie, that's game.
Look, that's game.
I remember the show. It was like, shucks.
Yo, I would have been staring at my phone for a good 10 minutes on some what?
Bro.
Fertilizer.
How do you respond?
She said raw.
How do you respond to that though?
But then can we I'm probably pushing my own propaganda.
Yeah.
Can we then appreciate the fact that like the online dating also just makes it so much easier to be loose. And when I say loose, I don't mean loose, sexually. No. I mean like loose in terms of, like, for example, you would not say that to a person in real life. Chances are very slim for you to go to someone and say, "How do you like your eggs?" Because I like mine fertilized. So,
unless we're buying eggs and not cornflakes.
But also,
I mean, you could, but even in that context, it's like, okay, now we know where this is going. But the chances of you saying such a thing in person to someone you just met or someone you're having casual conversations with are very slim. So can you appreciate the
nuance behind the fact that you can be two different people online and in person? I agree with you. I mean, if I may, to some extent, and I think this is also what I was thinking earlier on, which is, I think I'll give the example of Twitter before I come to the dating, just like the general landscape of Twitter, which is there's no accountability on that app, which is why it's such a dangerous place to be. Like if you,
What do you mean?
there's no accountability in the sense that you can say whatever you want because you are protected by the fact that you're behind the screen. No one can stop you from saying what you want. They can block you, but like your account is still active. They can report you. You can start another account. Like it's not that deep, you know. And if anything, a lot of the times you will trend more for the ways that you bash people.
Yes.
You know. So in that sense, you can be, like to your earlier point, more loose or more free to be unhinged on Twitter simply because you are protected by being behind the screen. That same context is somewhat transferable online in dating, where it's like you can say a lot more because you are protected by being behind the screen, and as well as the facade of whatever social media profile you've created. So for example, if you're somebody who's got a lot of followers, or even just like the aesthetics of your page display a certain type of persona, you are protected by the persona that you've displayed, even when you slide into these particular DMs.
Sure, yes.
And it's not necessarily the same thing in person. Like me online versus me in person, two very different people, because like I don't look like this when I go to work, but this is how I look online. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it becomes difficult to not difficult to transfer, but I understand the nuance that you're speaking about, where you have two different versions of you that exist, and some people are able to somewhat merge the two worlds. You know, I think I've been lucky in the sense that the version of me online is not, at least in the conversational sense, is not too different to who I am in person, because I am somebody who's very comfortable with conversation, you know, so that's generally who I am. But there are other people who, when you meet them, from what they were saying online, it's and you hear this all the time in like in like more raunchier settings, where they'll say stuff like, she done said all of this online, and then once I met it was like, you know, and vice versa. A lot of the times that does happen, where the expectation of this persona you've created online, you're not able to live up to it when you actually get to meeting this person.
I think like even the same, right? I feel like it's true in both directions, where I mean, I guess then it happens mostly online, where you find you have this persona online, but then the moment you guys meet or you take it to the physical, it's like, hey, yo, actually this is not the person, or the persona, or the way they carry themselves is not the same. But I think same thing can happen physically, where if you guys meet at church, right? At church, there's a persona that you go there with.
Avatar,
if you're at a bar, there's a person, like I would go to a bar, groove and do whatever, but then when I'm outside, it's like, hey, this guy is not a bar person, or like a club or groove person, or like
fully.
church, or you know what I mean, or like we meet at the gym, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy is doing other things, you know what I mean? So I think it's true
in both ways. Very
yeah.
much so, even in the context of like, I meet you in person and you are the sweetest, most thoughtful person, and like you give me a lot of attention, and then all of a sudden when it's time for us to actually talk online, because
like,
you know we're apart, ghost. Suddenly I can't get you, or like it seems like you're just not engaged when we actually are speaking. So
you're just
it's
bad
true.
at
Like
texting. You're just bad at texting. You're bad at calling. But physically, it's like you're the greatest person.
Which one would you prefer? Like if you like you meet someone physical, great, able to connect, but online.
Personally, both, and the reason, and that's just me. Personally, both, because I just genuinely, I find it hard to believe that, especially if you are genuinely interested in me, that there's going to be such a stark difference between the person that you are online and the person that you are in person. Because the person you are online is supposed to be an extension of the real you, not a completely different person. You know, that's me anyway, because I'd like to believe that the persona that I give online to the people that I'm interested, like for example, with my current partner now, I'd like to believe that who she experiences online is very similar to the person that she experiences in real life, where I'm present. I'm always trying to make sure that she knows where I'm at. Like, we're communicating consistently, you know. So that's not different to me being in person. Like, communication is a fundamental part of who I am. I think it's important, and I can't see why, if you value this thing of communication in person suddenly when we're online, it just goes away if you're genuinely interested in me. And I keep saying genuinely interested in me because I can show you a certain type of interest in person because there's benefits that come with doing that, but I don't have those benefits online. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm emphasizing that it's very different if I'm not genuinely interested in you, and it's like now I get the benefits of being with you in person, and then once we're apart, there's no reason for me to give you that effort.
Yeah, and bro, like, I think you know, when you were speaking about like it can happen both ways, physical and whatnot, you know, like obviously when we do go out into the world, we do have avatars, we do put out certain fronts. We need to. Was it Jordan who says we're all actors? We're all actors.
Peterson.
Yeah, I think it was him. He's saying we're all actors, so we do have avatars that we wear when we
And
go
it's
out.
necessary.
Exactly,
It's part of survival.
yeah,
Like it's a very necessary part of life.
You know, and I think, look, it can happen both ways, where you meet someone at church and then they are this person who is, you know, God fearing, and then when you get into personal spaces, it's a whole different vibe, you know. But I think it also comes with it's a muscle that you have to train. So at some point you are gonna be able to better identify someone who is putting on the front. So to be able to read someone's body language in the first encounter is something that can only happen physical. If you meet enough people and you like, okay, Miles, when we meet and we talk, he sits like this, he speaks like this. Okay, now you kind of have a frame of what a fake person is, or someone who is relaying a different person, or someone who has intentions that they don't really say on the first encounter, right?
I feel like that's hard though, because then how many people are gonna meet for you to have that knowledge of this person is fake looking, you know what I mean? Or
And you also have to take into account the person that you're speaking to. Like there are people who are very good at psychology, bro, and it's like understand the psychology of what would be appealing to you.
No, I get that. I get that there are people that are really good at psychology, understandably so, you know. But I think it's like I said, it's a muscle. Yes, you're not gonna be able to tell from the jump that this person is fake. But as you have grown up in the many years that you've been alive, you can identify danger without being told. And probably you had to go there first and burn and then come back. Not only when it comes to knowing people, you can tell that guy is dangerous, right? And there are people that are faking, understandably so. But the more you get into it, unfortunately, you have to kiss many frogs before you can meet the prince. That's what they say, right? And it also goes back to what is the intention of even dating. If you're going into dating to have fun times and short-term relationships, then you can do that all you want. But if you're searching for a partner, someone that you can really build something with, you're gonna be like, I'm willing to take all these L's just so that I can find the person that I'm looking for. And you will learn that don't go to the club. That's probably not where you're gonna meet your wife or your husband. Okay, don't go to this to Tinder, because you're most likely not gonna whatever. Maybe go to church. Okay, church, you've been burnt X amount of times. Okay, maybe don't go for this type of people that are at church. Fine. And that's how you kind of have to navigate the dating scene. Whereas online, it's literally like you said, it's pictures and posts. People are funny. They're not even laughing, but they've got laughing faces there, and they post this thing. You say, oh, we connect. You slide. And if they've been studying you, they're like, Miles likes he likes cars. Then they post more cars so that you can get trapped and actually comment on that. You get sucked into that hole, and they're like, actually, I don't know nothing about cars, but I saw you were posting about F1 all the time, so I just wanted to have a conversation with you, you know. And whereas in person, I would imagine it to go like, I see that you've been posting about cars and you find them interesting. I got you this. And that's for me is a nice and a solid, more solid entry point than just sliding and making it that easy. I think I don't like the idea of easy. Maybe that's my problem. I don't like that it's so easy, and like you're saying, it's so unhinged that you can just say so many things, because a lot of people, in majority, you say you do good in both because you have genuine interest. But a lot of people that shouldn't be sliding in people's DMs because they're not ready cognitively or in any form are sliding into DMs. And they are now, you know, they're in the dating scene. Everyone is there, but they shouldn't actually be sliding because they're not ready for it. And because it's so easy, and now it's becoming so transactional, where I just want booty, I'm going to go on Instagram and look for the closest thing. Oh, this one is nice. Then you slide, you know. I think that's just my issue with it. And the long-termness, because I'm also pro-marriage. Just Spoiler alert. I'm also pro-marriage, so
Wow.
maybe that's why I'm
Nice
not a big
transition.
fan.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I'm not. That's why-
How far are you with your lobola money? oh, is it too soon?
Pro-marriage. Out here being pro-marriage.
We know you, my nigga.
I'm just broke, dog.
The odds are against you.
I'm just broke, you know. I want it, but I'm just broke, you know. But you know, I think because of that, and even then, yes, not in a good place financially to be, you know, laboring at the moment. But if I could, I would right now. You get what I'm saying? And so, I'm pro marriage, and I think that's why I'm like, I've seen more benefits in the physical, meeting someone physically and engaging with them physically, and then getting to know each other, and then finding, okay, we have the similarities and this is where we want to take it. Conversations are more genuine. When they shy, when you say something, for example, when you crack a joke and you see someone smile a certain way, it does something to you, you know. And when they say something and they see your response, they're like, hey, this person is actually mature or whatever. It's all in the small things, man, and on those initial contexts, and then you can build and to say, you know what, when the first time I met you didn't even want to look at me in the eyes. You know, why didn't you? Now you know how they actually are when they meet other people, and we can, if it's a social flaw, you guys can work on it as in the relationship, because then online it's all posh perfection. By the time we meet, it's like, I know Simphiwe likes A, B, C, and D, and I've got a script ready for him. But do you get what I'm saying?
But hence I've said, you don't push it long term online, right?
Yeah.
You jump. It's like you pick. You're using it as an instrument just to pick up. You use conflicts to pick, right? I'm using the online to just pick and
You said what do you?
conflicts.
Conflicts is your. That's your.
If she's not buying conflicts,
If she don't want conflicts, I don't want it, man.
I don't want it, bro.
I
What do you like for breakfast? All brand.
big
All
Nah.
right now.
I'm sorry.
Don't work with me.
I want with big snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for me.
Sorry.
Jumping, right? Pick, right? Before I even get to know favorite color, everything, how you smile, what tickles you,
Yeah.
I'm gonna know that in physical. I'm only using that to just, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me say my first hi. Let me get that
The-
attention, the
the-
first attention, right?
The entry point.
Then after that, I'm gonna know everything in the physical. Once I'm able to crack that, I think I'm out. I've never, unless circumstances like. Give an example of that relationship that I had entire online, which distance, I was still a student, finances didn't allow me to travel to another province, you know. But once you say hi and you say hi back and then we click, then like, yo, can we, let's do that coffee tomorrow, you know, from there. Everything
you can
is-
build. Do we not then think that has something to do with the fact that the culture, even around, like I said, marriage, has shifted to this extent? Because, like I said, dating has become this, you know, sausage what. Whereas then, if you were going to approach someone, it was intentional. I want you to be my wife. So, do we not think this online dating thing?
I
has
agree
kind
with you fully. Like, and you know, we had a conversation about this when Who Stole My Cheese? The book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We had a conversation about this. And the conversation was about why it's so dangerous to move in with somebody before you get married.
No. It's the defining decade.
Yeah, I know, but the conversation started because of who stole my cheese.
Yes, sorry. Yes. We just read books over here.
So
Yeah.
Who Stole My Cheese is a book. It's a book, just for
I
context.
know.
But we had a conversation about like why it's so dangerous to move into, and I say dangerous, not impossible, but why it often doesn't work out for couples who move in together before they actually end up getting married. And the reason being is the intentions between those two domains are very different. If I'm moving in with you, and this is general context, not everyone, but if I'm moving in with you while dating, a lot of the times it's just because of the ease of access it provides. So the ease of access to pleasure, the ease of access to be, and for pleasure it could be two different things. Like that could be sex, that could be monetary pleasure, that could be, you know, like emotional or social pleasure, any of those types of things. But it doesn't take into account the nitty-gritties of actually living with somebody. So that means the financial sacrifices that come with living with somebody, the compromises that come with living with somebody, and ultimately being able to share what is supposed to be the most safe and intimate space of your life with somebody else. And we've trivialized it to this point of immediate access to pleasures. And so by the time you transition into the marriage, that is the context upon which you've built your home. Immediate access to pleasures. So when the difficulty comes and the hard times come, this foundation of pleasures doesn't know how to hold up to that, because you haven't had a lot of the difficult conversations that come with saying, I want to share my space with you for everything that it is, whether it's the financial burdens, the emotional burdens, the chores, all those little nitty gritties that people underestimate as important. Those are the things that people don't necessarily talk about. So that's why that transition becomes difficult, where in a marriage, if you guys are and again, this is just generalizing. In a marriage where you guys are getting into a into the marriage, and then you guys are living together, the assumption is that you guys would have had a lot of these conversations beforehand, because this is super intentional. So you've also gone through the training process of a lot of the communicative processes that need to happen to sustain a good relationship. So if you look at a lot of what happens in today's dating culture, people don't talk. And the reason they don't talk is because they fill the silence with sex. So
I have a question, right? So like, I mean, you're talking about the dangers of staying together and whatnot, but now I'm thinking, what if then me and my partner are actually saying, listen, we actually don't want to get married, right? So I'm going to a question where we're saying, is marriage necessary in like today's day and age?
I think I'm getting there.
Okay.
But you want to say something?
Yeah, before we get there, right? To what you said, there's that saying, right? And there's another saying says, you actually need to live with your partner in order to understand them before you can jump into a relationship. Meaning, that's why they advocate for that fat and set way. The fat and set, right? Because we can just move from being in a relationship, you're living in your house, we may get married tomorrow, you jump into one house. While we don't know if you doing your routine, how you leave your toilet seats or whatever, so how do we, I got to when you said not all, you're not trying to generalize it. And there's that part that's saying we shouldn't, the danger of moving in together before marriage, but also there's the danger of not knowing each other's space, not knowing each other around that space.
But this is the nuance there. Like, I'm not denying that. I'm saying the context of why people move in is very different. And in today's dating culture, it's usually, not always, but it's usually because of the ease of access to pleasure. You're talking about something intentional, where the idea is to build long term. And therefore, I'm doing this thing of moving into the space because I want to work out those nitty-gritties you spoke about. Like what is it like to be in your space? What is it like to have your routine? What are the things that you need to be you? Yeah. That is an intentional thing. And I mean, again, those contexts might work out particularly better. I was speaking for the general context of why it's dangerous for a lot of current relationships, where many of the times they do it because of just convenience and the ease of it's not an intentional decision. It's just, you're always here, so you might as well. You know what I mean? Like your clothes are starting to accumulate in my place because you're always here. Like,
rent is actually cheaper if we
you know what I mean?
Petrol.
And we could just share showers together, so we save the water, and that's how it ends up starting to be. And then it's just like you found yourself in that position. That's very different to what you're talking about, where it's like, but we are doing this with the intention of something long term. So that is, I'm not opposed to that. I understand why that can be important. I'm saying that's not what usually the intention is.
And what you're saying is, I think the word, the thing then would then be the intention behind it, because, and it's true, bro. Like sometimes you don't want to move in with someone and you learn them while you're married, and then it's like a nightmare, right? But I think if we have the conversation to say, we said we're going authentic, bro. But if we're having a conversation, which you see, and here's the thing, when, the reason why I cut you earlier when I was like, how does it usually work for you? I was like, for you it will obviously work out, because even the intention of sliding isn't really to just raise up. Exactly. What? Yeah. it's usually to it's an entry point because of I'm shy. I want to get in. I want to get an entry point that is easier for me. And then when the person eventually meets with you, there's still a match, you know. And you moving in with someone, I know because I know you personally, would really be from a place of I want to get to know you and learn you before we make this, like before we actually make it official and the commitment. And if you are unable to have a common ground where you're unable to resolve conflict and like etc., then you're like, okay, maybe this is not what we wanted to do, because now I'm seeing a lot more of you as opposed to seeing you for 1 hour a day or you know for 3 hours in the weekend. So, and the intention that my fear and I think what you were speaking on is the fact that a lot of it is it just happened, you know. We found ourselves here, and honestly, it's nice to have access to someone and say to Amajita, my dogs,
and that's exactly, and that in that context is an extension of the very same dating culture you're worried about, which is that ease of access to pleasure. That's why the dating culture has become so different, and why it's even so stigmatized now, where it's like online dating has somewhat represented this idea that if I'm sliding into your DMs, chances are it's not for something long term. And it's just for pleasure. And so people will then often use that as an opportunity for a fat and sit where, again, ease of access to pleasure. And sometimes people, and look, like people are human. And that's another important thing to understand. If I spend enough time with you doing the things that we are doing, I might catch feelings for you by virtue of extended exposure. It's not necessarily a
much of you,
exactly. Like I catch feelings, or people catch feelings as a result of increased frequency of exposure. Not necessarily. Sorry.
Time and space.
Exactly.
Einstein.
Exactly, and like the human nature is bound to want to care for this person that is consistently in my space. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a compatibility here. So when those bumpy roads that are eventually going to come, they show just how incompatible you are. And suddenly, like I said, the foundation that was built on pleasure doesn't know how to weather storms.
But then I guess, so,
you asked another question. I'm so sorry to cut you. No. You notice I don't say off anymore. You asked a very important question, which was, okay, so then now the next thing is, do we need to make marriage the whole thing? And look, that's not something I can define for anybody. I can only really ever speak about why I think marriage is important for me and why I think it's important. And I think for me, because I'm also going to need to head out soon, but so I'm going to need to head out soon. But like for me, why marriage is such a important milestone for me is, I think I've come to understand that like nobody is an island, you know, and the ability to not only commit to somebody and commit to the betterment of another human being, and also have somebody who's making the same commitment to you, and the definition of marriage, which is in sickness and in health and in good times and in bad, is really like at its core being able to bring down the very need for somebody else in your life in this difficult thing that is humanity. And so being with somebody who you have made that commitment with, to say that throughout everything, if we are doing this in what would be, again, an ideal marriage for me, like through God, is we are trying to navigate growth. We are trying to navigate not just happiness, but we are trying to navigate moving through purpose and allowing somebody to be the lens that allows you to see many of the things that might be wrong with yourself, as well as many of the things that about yourself that are good that you can't see as a result of your limited perspective of self. And I think relationships where that commitment is made through marriage tend to become, for me, a lot more like the benefits of that for me seem to be a lot more like long-standing, because I've said I'm taking this oath for commitment to do this with you. Whereas in the context where we're not getting married, it's like there's nothing that binds me here. You know, and when you're not committed to something, there's no reason for you to really weather the difficult times. And especially when the love starts to change. And I don't want to say leave, because the thing is, love changes. Like it's no longer the same fiery love where it's like, you know, every day we're rum-papa-pumming every time we wake up and all those things. It's no longer that. It becomes, love is that biblical is Galatians, right? The love is patience, love is Corinthians. Sorry, I said Galatians. Thank. Oh my God. Thank you. I was like, that doesn't sound correct.
You got your brothers in Christ here.
Thank you. I was like, that doesn't sound. I was like, that doesn't sound correct to me. Thank you, Corinthians. Thank you. I think it's verse 14, and 1 Corinthians verse 14, where he starts talking about love is patient, love is kind, love is it's not selfish, and all of those different qualities that love is, I believe, are better expressed in a marriage where that commitment has been made, because that marriage allows for that space to, like, for those other variants of what love looks like to actually, like, show itself. I think that's more difficult to do in a place where, because we're not married, there's no commitment here. So there's no need for love to be that patient. There's no need for love to be that kind, because when you piss me off, there's no reason for me to not go find somebody else. That's me.
Sorry to jump. I want to give you. This is like a side note. I've seen something interesting about
Galatians.
that thing. Love is patient. Love is kind. And someone was like, in order for you to kind of understand, or something to work towards, is for you to replace love and put your name there. And that's the characteristics that you want to have to know that you actually love someone. Yeah, like Usiphile is kind, Usiphile is patient, Usiphile is slow to anger, and like all the other qualities. So, but yeah, you want to say something? It was just like
no, that's a good one. I want to ask, right? Where, like, you talk of commitment and whatnot, but my thing is, okay, cool. What are you getting or not getting in a relationship that you would then be getting once you guys are married? You know, of course, I think from what I was hearing from you was the commitment and the binding ideally through God, and you know what I mean. But I just want to hear from you to say, what are you actually getting from, assuming you guys stay together, fat in seats, girlfriend, boyfriend, you get married, you stay together still, wife and husband. But what is actually now different there?
I think before we dive into the marriage thing, let's define the origins of marriage from each one's understanding. From my understanding, right, how I've learned of marriage, it was before ages back. Marriage was formulated to bind families, to protect wealth amongst people. It was never about love, from my understanding, from what I've read. Right? That is why there were arranged marriages. This king marries this king's daughter. Yes, right? It was in that essence so that we can protect our own wealth. Yes. Oh, Tiba, Vichima, build together.
Rich family, marrying a rich family.
It was never really about love, from my understanding, right? And that is why you find a lot of people now, when they get to married, it's all about security rather than love. Usiphile will love me, right? Yeah. But will go marry Sims because of Sims brings him more security than me. Knowing that he really loves me.
That's true. That's true. You brought a very important part to the
knowing that he really loves me, but then he's gonna settle for, because now I'm the toxic.
You just said you're a settlement, bro.
Because I'm toxic, right? I'm not bringing. I'm toxic. I'm not bringing out that thing, but he really loves me. He's the person that, whenever I say he's kind of weak or whatever, but he's gonna end up with you. Yes. Because of you are the karma, you're the bring, you're the security. Life makes sense. When he talks there about being married, when he mentions Sims, life makes sense. But when he mentions Zow, the fuck? Like, that nigga, bro, what are you doing with that? You know, when he talks to his... So
you brought a very interesting part of this conversation,
That is why I was saying, let's talk at the origins of marriage. From the beginning, because that's my understanding of marriage. Marriage never had to do anything with love. That is why everything. So that is why.
But I mean, look, and this is why I'm saying, like, it becomes very important for the definition of marriage, for what it is you're looking for it to do. Because I mentioned that for me, the very important foundation of marriage here is not necessarily just the protection of wealth and all those things. Those are important parts of it. Like, I am trying to marry somebody who, by virtue of what we are both looking to achieve, wealth protection is there, you know. But for me, at the core of it is still God. That's me. And that's why I said I cannot speak for everyone else, and I had to bring it down to me, because that's those are not invalid reasons to get married. I can't ever, because the thing is, there are people who get into those arranged marriages and they fall in love, and there are other people who have horrible marriages, but they still stick together through the loyalty and the characteristics that they've built. So it's like, this is why I'm not making it an exclusive thing. I'm just saying, like, in my context, what would be the ideal thing that I think would ground my marriage would be God, with all of those other things being secondary, you know. But you've mentioned something very important, because now you've brought in this conversation.
Yeah, no, it's yes.
Pro marriage.
No, it's. I mean, I am pro marriage, you know, and I think it's important that you started the thing by saying it's important for.
Do you mind if I just step outside? I'll be back.
No stress, man. It's important for. Can you please check if it's recording?
Out here talking without no record.
I mean, we'll just put audio. Is it recording? Has it shown the 20%? What?
No, the
What's
battery's
that?
still fine, don't worry. Battery's still fine.
Huh?
Oh,
So I'm saying, I think it's important that you started the point by saying it's important for everyone to have a definition of what marriage is for them. Your understanding of it was obviously wealth protection and families coming together, and what is it?
time.
I put in time. Is it a timer? So.
Why we been timed now?
It's gotta be done in 15 minutes. I think it's important for us to have the definition, and I think it kind of answers what you were saying is why are we still getting married if we can just sit and not get married? And I think if your reason for it is it's wealth protection and bringing family together, that's why you should get married. If your reason is love and God and stuff, then that's why you should get married. I think we don't have a lot of it right now. My fear, I think, because I'm pro-marriage, and mine is this, like I said, is also God and family, and also what you're saying, wealth protection, bringing families together and building with someone towards something. And I think in a relationship where we're living together, yes, we might have same furniture in this room, but it can become so easy to forget something, because sometimes it does get really difficult to a point where love doesn't look like what you usually what you've come to understand, and it can be that quick to just move out and leave if you're not married. Whereas if it's like binding and you've made the oath in front of people in the congregation, in front of God, and in front of your families, and our families are involved, it's a lot more difficult. And I'm not saying that to bind people when they are not happy or to live and sit in abusive marriages, because I think the narrative or the reason why everyone is so anti-marriage now and why we'd rather live together than get married is because people are staying in abusive marriages, and marriage is used as a weapon than it is as a uniting tool for families and for two individuals. And so I think my fear, we spoke about influences earlier. My fear is that because people are so easily influenced and they don't spend time with themselves to understand me as Usiphile, they look around and they hear what is happening around. Or everyone is saying getting married is a scam. It's about bekezela ring, and I don't want a bekezela because bekezela ring is associated with withstanding abuse. We've seen it. People stay in abusive relationship and they don't leave because they must bekezela, because families are thingy. But that's when it is used as a weapon. And perhaps in the previous generation, and even now in our generation, it is still being used as an oppressive tool. But I think if you can sit with yourself and understand, this is why I got married, and so when God is no longer in the marriage, then I should leave. If our families are no longer seeing eye to eye, then these are grounds for us to leave. Or wealth protection is not on the table, then these are grounds for us to leave. So I think people are so driven by this it's just easy, let me live with someone because I don't want to commit, I don't want to be stuck with someone for the rest of my life, and the government is getting involved and they get to what, bro, there's a lot more to it than just that. So
No, so I mean, I'm also curious, right, to say.
Men's put us on a timer. We've got 12 minutes to go. Yeah. 11 minutes now.
It's like
cooking.
I'm not wasting any more minutes.
Now we need to be cooking. No, so I'm thinking, right? So, what was I thinking, man? So, like, are we then saying that it's cool if someone doesn't have a reason to get married, whether it's for wealth, security, God, or whatever, then is that then cool for them to just fight and sit for as long as they can until they're 80 and then
Sure. I think who should go? You wanna go? Sure.
I'm saying it's cool, but it's worth exploring. I think it's worth exploring what the reason is. But I'm saying, look,
Sure,
man, I
sure.
can't really speak and impose. But I think sometimes it's important for us to have a strong stance on things. And like I said, I'm pro-marriage. Not pro-abusive marriages or relationships. I'm pro-marriage. And so I would say I think it's something worth exploring.
Yeah.
I've never been married, and perhaps I'm speaking prematurely.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I'm not married yet, but I think it's something, there's beauty in it. And that
Facts.
it's beauty that people aren't speaking much about it. You know, we really focus on the downsides of marriage. Like if you go online right now and you look at marriage, you research marriage and problem on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, but you probably see something negative about it. You know, we speak about, we celebrate divorce, people getting divorced. Yes, you know. But you know, yeah.
I mean, like, also side.
Yeah.
Yeah? I'm also pro marriage, right?
Okay.
I think I wanna see myself married, whatever. But it's nice. It's also okay, right, for someone not to want to get married. Just have a life partner throughout life. You know, it's the same conversation that we were having.
Still muted, sorry.
Same conversation we were having last week when I told you, like, when I said people that suffer from Peter Pan syndrome, right? They don't want to conform to the normals, to the social norms.
There is a noise. It's the pipes.
Oh,
Right?
Okay.
They don't want to conform to the social norms, right? Your normal going to school, getting a degree, 9 to 5, you know. And that type of life gets them, right? So they rather just live life without having plans. You ask him, what is your 5-year plan? He doesn't know.
I don't have a
He doesn't even know what he's going to do tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that's still okay, right?
Yeah.
And if the fact that he might not want to get married, be cool with him, but in the next 3 weeks, he might find someone that he wants to get married with.
And then
And
all of a
that's fine,
sudden,
right? Most of us, like I said last week when I said, there's no reality. We perceive what we see and call it reality, right?
No one means about mess with your mind. Yes.
Most of us, we want to get married or we want to get this and this because of what we've perceived.
Yeah.
You know, some...
And what you've been exposed to. Like,
True.
it's very important
Yes.
to know that.
Yeah.
That's why there's always, when you grow up in a household where your pops is a drunkard, it's either you're going to be a drunkard or you're not going to want to touch alcohol, right? And that's what happens to us. You pro-marriage because of you've seen, without an influence. Like you said, as we touched on earlier on about influence, we've seen a lot of, marriage has a bad publicity, like as it stands now.
Yeah.
You know, marriage is on a, guys, why are you getting married?
Yeah.
What's this?
The PR team is not doing it.
The PR is no, you know. So
We
But-
are the PR team.
but there's still guys like Usiphile, like, yo, I'm pro marriage, regardless if you're saying niggas are cheating, hands
Yeah,
are cheating,
yeah.
but I'm pro marriage, and that's a good thing. But also, if I'm coming and say I don't want to get married, I think we should also celebrate me. You know, you should say like, nah,
yeah.
so why? Because when Usi says he wanna get married, we don't say why. We just like, for.
Cool.
But if I say I don't wanna get married, you also say, that's nice though.
That's a good point.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Because
You
I think like
No, it's fair.
I feel like we've grown up to think of marriage as like the last step or last milestone
As an
in life.
achievement.
Exactly, you know what I mean? Like we go to primary school, high school, uni, get a job, then get married, and then you're like, I'm done in life. So I think, and then it creates this toxic relation or idea that for someone who's not married, then
Failed.
yes, you've essentially
How mu-
failed in life.
How much time do we have?
7 minutes.
Shucks, I want to jump on monogamy and polygamy.
Keep it.
That's a topic for another day.
Uh-huh.
Okay, no, carry on. You were saying.
No, I'm done. I think Usi wants to say something.
Yeah, it's and look, that's true. You know, it's true. I think something we can come to appreciate, like people can or should have. What's just happening? You guys.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
People should have, like you're saying. I think the idea that we see marriage as an achievement, as a last step, then makes or creates conversations where people that don't get married are considered to be failures. And we know this. We go back home, Emakaya, and they say, "Oh, chatanin."
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
now late 30s, chatanin, you
Yeah.
know, and that become the norm,
It's true.
you know. But I think, you know, and look, we can't really do much in terms of convincing everybody
Yeah.
what it is. But I think from what you guys were saying, and I think this is important. This is the importance of having such conversation. Is we now know it's important for one to define what they want firstly and understand marriage, and define that idea for themselves. And for me, like I said, it would be an achievement and success for my life, because it's what I want to, and I want a godly marriage. If I didn't have a marriage that is around God, then I would have failed, regardless of whether I got married or not, whether it was for love. For someone who's getting married for love and they don't get the love, but they get the security, then they've failed according to their narrative. So I think it's we can then say it's important for us to explore, maybe understand it, and then say this thing doesn't work for me because this is not what I'm looking for. I can get this elsewhere. And if that's your reality, that's perfectly fine, And if we can have those open conversations without bashing that, oh, you didn't want to get married, it's because you don't want commitment. Oh, you want to get married, oh, because you are patriarchy or whatever, And I think that you say the PR team for marriage is terrible. Yeah. And whenever these conversations are being had, it's people tearing each other apart because they have difference in opinions, And I think we can appreciate the fact that we kind of have a foundation or a basis on, to what you asked initially, is it important? Well, for me, it is important. Yes. And would I speak to someone about it to try convince them that it's important? I would, if they were willing to hear. If they still don't believe so, that's also cool. Absolutely okay. We don't have to fight about it. And so that's just me, my closing remark. But
I feel you, man. Like I think this is also like the benefit of having a conversation with people who are not trying to push narratives. Because everybody here has been quite vocal about emphasizing that for me, this is what this looks like for me and my understanding, because I'm not personally, I know why I want marriage. And as you said, I also want it to be a very godly marriage because it is going to be a big achievement for me. It is part of a long-term life plan for me to be able to look at my partner and say that we're in this together, But I'm also very aware of the fact that there's going to be a lot of difficulty that comes with that, many of which is going to be very uncomfortable, whether it be around finances, it be around my kids, whether it be around personalities, or things that have been undealt with from past, and whatever the case may be. It's going to be a lot of difficulties to deal with, but I think, for me, the investment into a person and the subsequent investment back, for me, is worth a lot of that, because irrespective of what I choose, if I choose to be somebody who's not married, or choose to be a polygamist, or I choose to be somebody who's just out and about, there's difficulties that come with that too, that through my experience is not worth it for me, and I think that's really where the crux of it lies. What do you find to be particularly fulfilling, and more so, what are the things you are willing to accept as the sacrifice of what you find fulfilling? Because because there's going to be an altar of sacrifice for anything that you want at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what it is, so for some people, they might want to be polygamous, but a lot of the sacrifices of that is the amount of intimacy you can give these people, the amount of vulnerability you can show. It might even just be the fact that you're not able to you might not feel as safe with all of these people. And the contrast is you might feel very safe with one person, but you have to be willing to deal with a lot of the problems that they come with. And this is also another thing I've always said to people in relationships, which is, it's one thing to marry or date somebody for the things you like about them, but that's not enough. You have to be willing to date and love somebody for the things you don't like. That's the important choice, actually.
Facts.
What are the things that make your skin boil that you're actually willing to accept and deal with at its very worst? Because if you can accept that this is a version of this person that can and potentially exists, then you're actually willing to put in the effort for that person. Yeah. But it's not an easy thing to do. But for me, for the benefit that comes with being able to say I've got somebody who's got my back and is going to raise my kids to be a certain type of way, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Richim?
No, man, look, like I said, it's. I think I'm just happy. I'm honestly just happy with how the conversation went. You obviously on the you're more facilitating the conversation. So you you could run away from a lot of these difficult questions, But I really do appreciate, like I said, you said we're not trying to push narratives or agendas. You know, we know what we kind of want for ourselves, but we're also open to hearing. And like when you brought up the definition of what marriage is for you.
I was fire.
I
was fire.
That
Like,
was-
he changed. Everybody was just like, yo, holy shit.
He was talking.
That was literally the turning point of the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to step back a bit
Yeah.
more, and
Actually think about it like this.
and that's the beauty of just having. Well, for people that want to listen to willing to listen to the person next to them, and still be respectful, I think, about their needs. I can see the timer is going off, so I'll just send it back to Usiphile.
I think also it's interesting because guys and girls have different visions. Like we could have the same conversation as guys, but then once you bring in a lady, it's like completely like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? So I think it's an interesting point of view or perspective to always think about also, because
Is that on the cards?
spoilers are it. But yeah, because I mean, you have to think about it, right? There's four black guys talking about marriage. So there's obviously our subconscious biases at play, things that we're not even aware of. I mean, I grew up at home. No one is married at home, So then I might have a completely different, idea of what marriage is or how it should be. Is it even necessary to, you guys might have grew up in homes where your mom was married to your dad or something else, and then the idea is also totally different, So I think all of those nuances are things that you always keep in mind. So like, okay, actually, why is this guy even thinking about this? Or the way he's thinking and the way he's like posing his ideas. But yeah.
No, 100%, man. Appreciate you, gents.
Thank
timer
you,
has said.
guys.
I know. Homies are just like, another one. It has to come to an end.
Actually, another thing I want to talk about.
But I think it's just beautiful that we can leave it at what it is and just allow people to kind of engage. So, like I said, really grateful to Abby once again for the sponsorship. You will be seeing this equipment. We've gotten word earlier that we will be seeing this equipment in the episodes to come, so I am excited about it. Simphiwe and I will be driving the ship. Appreciate you, my G, and for bringing a hectic,
Yeah,
spanner
man.
in the works. So yeah, I think from my side it is peace and out.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. Bro, I'll always be behind the scenes. It's only now you guys are seeing my face. I'll always be behind the scenes.
Coming back again. No, I appreciate it, man.
I hope I can come back again sometime.
Nah,
man.
for sure,
It's
for
fun.
sure, man.
Thanks for hosting us, gents.